Adtech moves fast. Yesterday's innovation is today's warm-up act. Welcome to Legends of Adtech, the podcast where we go beyond the buzzwords and straight to the people at the cold face of digital adtech. Every 2 weeks, we sit down with the industry's boldest thinkers, pioneers and disruptors to find out how they're rewriting the game. This is their story.
Welcome back to Legends of Adtech podcast, where we celebrate the pioneers, the disruptors, and the visionaries shaping the world of adtech. I'm your host, Julia Linehan, founder and CEO of The Digital Voice. And today's guest is without doubt a trailblazer. He's been challenging, in more ways than one, what defines the industry since the early days. The legendary Rob Webster is founder and CEO at Tau Marketing Solutions. He's also an advisor on AI strategy and go-to-market for Amplified and Plug Media. And with a career spanning more than 20 years, Rob has been at the forefront of digital advertising since the very early days of programmatic and is now shaping the future of ad tech within AI. He's known not just for building and advising, but without a doubt for speaking out with conviction and honesty about where the industry needs to evolve. And whether he's launching companies or mending those from within, Rob has spent his career trailblazing new ideas, challenging the status quo, and he's not slowing down anytime soon. Welcome, Rob Webster.
Thanks, Julia. Thanks for having me. And what an amazing intro. So, yeah, thank you for that.
I could have gone on. I had way more actually to say, but we'll hopefully unpick it during the sessions. I'm going to challenge you, as I always do to my lovely guests, in 60 seconds or less, tell us who Rob Webster is and the career behind the man.
So, I guess I'm a marketing geek. I think formatively, I was trained by IT, but in IT, my parents were programmers and IT professionals. Um, Somehow, after university, ended up in the world of ad tech, working for an ad network, and kind of loved it ever since. Really, I think had a long time working for startups, sort of places like Yahoo and AOL bought them, and had a long time agency side. I remember when Programmatic started, one of the TV directors was saying, "Rob, we've got no idea what you're talking about. Explain it to me like you would do to your mother." So of course I said, "Well, she's a programmer," and the room kind of laughed. The point I kind of took from it was, actually, Rob, if you're going to do this, you need to get better at trying to explain these complex concepts. Uh, and I spent the last sort of 8 years working as an entrepreneur, first at Canton, and now with Tau with AI, trying to forge the new AI future.
Do you know what though? Didn't we make it? We did it on purpose. Like all the acronyms back 20, well, 30 years ago. I just started in 95 in digital advertising. I'm sure we did it on purpose so that no one else knew what the fuck we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always think new members of staff, it takes at least 6 months to get your head around all the different acronyms, right? So we like to make things difficult for people.
That we do. And then we like to solve it and explain what it is. So you've started in ops, and obviously in every role you've had, it's kind of been led by that a little bit. Would you say that you still live and breathe the operation side, the technical side?
Yeah, absolutely, and arguably even more so now, because the whole point of it, for me, of AI is trying to help people kind of fight back against some of the fluff that advertising has created. Just how do you solve ops challenges? Yeah, I was never a person that kind of loved the theory of marketing, but what I always have loved is how do you solve problems? And yeah, so 100%, always been in the weeds, and yeah, actually now kind of back programming again, actually back building solutions from end to end.
I love that. So, Rob, you've always stayed close and been with largely tech companies, and obviously you had your time within agencies. Has it always been it's about choosing roles that play to your strengths, or has it been more important who the company is that you work with or for?
I think playing to my strengths. I mean, I started out working in technology roles at new digital tech companies, but I was at the time kind of pushing problem solving and pushing more into media. And then when I was at agency side, it was the reverse. It was how do you bring that tech angle to an agency or to a marketing role? And I always think that's a nice strength to have, right? Because if you just stay purely in technology, there are far better technologists out there than me. Or if you stay close to that media side, again, you know, the number of folk who can teach me an awful lot about almost all areas of media, from planning, creative to everything else, is huge. But in that combination, I feel very confident, and I feel that's where I can add the most value. And it's been that really. It's been trying to use those skills together alongside always trying to find what's the next new thing. So I worked in behavioral targeting when it was early, search when it was early, programmatic when it was early, and now again within AI, trying to go, well, what's new? What can we recreate? So it's always the most fun when you've got that freedom to kind of innovate and try to sort of set the tone.
I definitely think getting there early was always it. I've always believed in that as well. I've got a question for you though. I mean, you've never been shy about pressing buttons if it's something that you believe in and that matters to you. And yet it's never at any point affected or impacted your longevity and career in this industry. Is there a secret to surviving it and still being willing to say what you think?
I think some of my bosses might disagree with you, and definitely there are some stories I could tell where maybe my bluntness has caused some issues. Um, I've always been that character, right? And yeah, I think I decided a long time ago to try and work out who you are as an individual, right, and what you want to do. I thought about, do I try and learn to play the game? Do I try and sort of settle down and play a role?
Oh, fuck no. It would not work, Rob. Don't ever do it. I love that you don't.
I'm someone who gets a massive sense of sort of frustration when I see people doing the wrong thing for politics. I'm talking about sort of small company, big company politics, not the grander world. So someone said to me, Rob, was like, you don't work for your clients, you work for the company. And for me, that was a real kind of turn off for that particular business, because I always want to be there trying to help do my best to solve problems for those that I'm working with, not trying to push something else.
I think that's fair. And it's interesting as well. I've got a question for you. Do you prefer launching companies or do you prefer mending companies that you see need help? You've done both.
I have done both. I really enjoy both. I think it really depends upon the people that you're working with, and who's kind of in your cohort, in your camp. I would say that the worst part of starting a company is that first 12 months, because the, the the sheer number of things that you have to do, and the fact that you've all got to do it all with a very small number of people is very intimidating. And to anyone who hasn't run a startup, cash flow and just getting through the world in that first year is very hard. And then once you kind of got through that, kind of the fun sort of starts, because you have a team, you have a product, and off you go. And I really love that kind of year two to year on within a startup. Mending a company though is really good fun, provided you have the right people around you to allow you to do it. Uh, and where I've succeeded, it's because we've been able to create, you know, um, a group of people around you who sort of share that vision, kind of create a team, and also you have the right level of support from above and below. And the number of people who've helped me in my career kind of progress is people who've kind of given me that level of support. But also, when you're going to mend a company, when you're in the interview process, no one ever tells you quite what you're going to walk into, and you open up the hood. And when things have gone wrong, it's because you don't have that real support, and you're almost sort of there as a sticking plaster, or a sacrificial sort of lamb, if you like, towards the greater company. So love both done well. Both got huge challenges.
Interesting you said that. There's obviously that experience of going and looking under the hood. You've worked at massive companies and then you founded startups as well. Is that challenge that you mentioned about going under the hood, is that one of the bad sides? Is there good and bad in both? And if you were leaning towards one, what would it be?
I think these days I would lean towards a startup. I think earlier in my career, I think I would probably lean towards getting under the hood of a more established player. I mean, working at both Elite Digital and then at Medicom was great for my career, because they had huge lists of amazing clients, amazing talent to kind of learn from, and were just fundamentally really, really good at what they were good at. And I was kind of able to then hopefully come in and really kind of add that layer around digital technology, digital attribution measurement, and that was a phenomenal time, which I'd fully recommend. Unfortunately, though, you do have some companies where the dynamics kind of work kind of against that, where you do have too much politics. You almost have people who don't want to improve, and I think that I'm hopefully a decent leader of teams who want to be there and want to progress. I don't think I am a very good leader of teams for people who don't really care about what they're doing.
I think that's really fair. And you mentioned as well, so you were talking about that first year of being a founder, and I'm always curious, and there's a lot of people who listen to this who are thinking, I want to be a founder, and I'm a founder, I love it. Is the hardest thing about being a founder in ad tech the cash flow? Cash flow will kill you in the first year if you're not careful, or is there something else that's the hardest thing?
I think it's a yin and a yang thing. I think one part of it is that also the defensive part is that cash flow piece. You can do phenomenally well, but you'll know yourself, Julia, that people don't always pay their bills on time.
Yeah, thank God for companies like Revving now who are helping out because it's brutal.
Well, absolutely. I don't know. I wasn't planning to give a plug here, but we're also now working with Revving, so they're definitely
Yeah.
helping. So well done them for the plug. Uh, but I think that's definitely a part of it. And you can always be on the finance world kind of hit by the bus you don't see coming, right? Because you think everything's fine, and suddenly um, something drops out. And I've seen people who've become founders become profoundly changed by that experience. That pressure, even when they're doing really really well as a business, that pressure to just keep making the books balance. But I think actually the biggest challenge is one that people are either ready for or not, and that's that place of self responsibility. Um, you need to be able to learn that if you want to go get something done, you've got to go and do it yourself or within a small group of people. And there's nothing within the company description that you don't have to take responsibility for. Whether that's going out and winning new business or fixing a client problem or owning up to a problem, or it could be just sort of cleaning the office if nobody else is going to do it right.
Got to get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
I've known you for a long time and I've seen you, and I think there's some people that absolutely suit being a founder for many reasons. But one of the ones for you is, as I said at the start, you are not shy at saying what you think. And you mentioned that there are stories you could tell. Is there any instances you can say when it hasn't been successful, when you've had your wrist slapped big time?
Well, I do remember one occasion. I won't name the company, but you can probably guess. But a senior director came in and was asking us to whether we consider working with a different creative agency for a given piece of business. Now, I'd had some experience with that creative agency, which hadn't been positive. I was like, oh no, we mustn't do that. And I listed out in great detail the challenges this company had. And I was thanked and walked on, went out for lunch and had a beer, I think, as I recall, and felt pretty good about myself. Came back to find out that said senior director was a non-exec
Oh, shit.
at that creative agency, and my opinionated view was perhaps not right for that route. Uh, what you might call career limiting. Whenever you are kind of free with your opinions, again, you don't get hit by the bus you see coming, you get hit by the one that you don't anticipate.
Yeah. Did you have to work with that creative agency then? Did they just make you work with them?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a double wrist slap, isn't it? That's a wrist slap and a slap in the face.
Yeah,
And sometimes you can't win. You warned them, and I bet they were shit. And actually, then you'd be like, "Yeah, told you so."
yeah. I've also had a few incidents like talking to journalists and saying things that I thought were off the record that ended up not being.
But you know the words. We always say, obviously, it's a press agency. Now, nothing's off the record.
I mean, we're all talking, to be fair, 15 years ago, or earlier in my career. And you know what? Actually, one of the things I miss about maybe the world that we knew back in the noughties and early 2010s was even larger companies had an awful lot more freedom. And you see now, like trying to get interesting commentary out of senior directors in the industry or people working client side is very, very hard, right? Because all the hoops they have to jump through. So, yeah, the older days where there were a few more mistakes, but it was a bit more fun, wasn't it?
I love as well, Rob. Now you've moved on, and you're very vocal and a big voice around AI. And then this one, and you have credibility for doing this because you got in early. But in a nutshell, what's your take on it?
That's a really big statement. So I did a bit of AI at university, and then I really loved working
Did
in.
you?
Yeah, I did a maths degree for my sins. Don't ask what grade I got. And then at my time at Medicom, we worked an awful lot with machine learning, which I loved and always thought there was huge potential to come forward. But the problem with machine learning is it's incredibly geeky, and unless you are an engineering or a data scientist person, it's very hard for most of the team to get behind what machine learning is. The great thing about generative AI is it's so accessible. You've got the power that you had of the old techniques, but you can have a prompt. I mean, I could show you now that you can actually prompt it and go, right, take this data from Google Ads or whatever, and run a machine learning algo against it and tell me what's going on. Bang. Now, you still need to know what machine learning is going to do, but the difficulty in doing it has been removed. What that means is that if we build tools where these techniques are integrated, we can make them accessible to the whole marketing department. And that's what I find most amazing. What I think most people are getting wrong about AI is, yes, it can be about one big killer idea or one big killer feature, but what you're doing is making everybody more effective. You're giving them powers that they didn't have before, and also allowing for collaboration to happen. You imagine a 10 department team all doing different things. No one can actually cope with all of those things in their mind at the same time. But you can ask an AI to go, are we all going in the right direction? Where's it going wrong? The AI isn't infallible, but it will be able to read all the different things happening and go, well, this creative over here looks a bit weird, or this buying strategy over here looks a bit weird. And you go, oh, that's fine because that's this. But oh, I'll find out about that. So for me, I think about this idea of collective intelligence, the fact that you're making everybody more effective at what they do, giving them tools they haven't got, but also allowing for that greater coordination around the side.
So, from a zoomed out perspective, we're all going to be more efficient, we're all going to be more effective. But is there any other, I suppose, more zoomed in impacts it's going to have specifically on our industry?
Yes, I think so. We are going to automate an awful lot of administrative tasks, things where you go through a process like building a report, building a presentation, trafficking a campaign, research to a degree, like bringing together data. All of those things is going to be automated and so on. And there is a risk there to people's work. For me, though, if you can then look at that and go, well, how do I use those things to make myself more effective? How do I use more of what is innate to us as individuals? What you can output will more than make up for that. Now, it might be that big companies shrink down, but you have more smaller companies around it doing new things. So I think net, I actually don't see a challenge to employment. I think it's a great world for generalists who, or well, I had a debate with James Hasbrouck last week. He's a big disliker of M-shaped talent. So M-shaped being where you go deep on 3 or 4 areas, but also across the top. I'm a big fan of that because if you can go across the top of the whole thing, you can be that conductor of an AI orchestra. And if you go deep on a few areas, as you do with communication, for example, you add that superpower to an output. So I encourage everyone to try and be able to be a generalist who can conduct an orchestra, to go deep on a few areas and work with AI to maximize your output. I think there's an awful lot of chat about it. Are we in a hype cycle? Are we in a bubble? I'm not seeing it. Clearly there's some crazy valuations going on here, but I'm also seeing improvements in efficiency and workflow actually outpacing that. I think we're actually underestimating what's coming. I think the human brain isn't great at understanding exponential growth. The things AI can do this year are so much more than they could do last year. So just implementing this year's changes will add huge efficiency to everything we're doing, marketing and the rest of the world. But what we're going to have next year is going to be more again. So you've got growth on growth.
And just got to keep going, riding with it.
And that doesn't mean that a few companies aren't going to have corrections in stock price. I'm not saying that at all. But I don't think we're going to slow down AI adoption one bit. I actually think it's going to accelerate.
So here's the thought for you, though, right? You mentioned that AI bubble. Okay, now let's think about another bubble that's possibly burst, and you and I have both been in it from the start, which was programmatic. As a salesperson in the early 2000s in this area in digital advertising, it's a savior for publishers. It's going to be everything you could possibly want, every single impression, and you can track the eyeballs, not like magazines. And lo and behold, 98% in some cases of the revenues don't even make their way to the publishers. It ends up being as little as 2% because of the tech tax. What's your view on this? I know you have a strong opinion on it, and I want our audience to hear it.
I think throughout history, whenever you make things more complicated and less transparent, people will come in and take the money because you can. I think we've got two things here. We've got the dot-com crash of '01, where I was cheap labour just starting my career. And then we've got the programmatic revolution, sort of '09 to 13. Suddenly we had all of these auctions happening in the background, and it became less about the inventory and more about the person. First of all, why did we do that? I mean, we know that even for the same person, advertising on a huge billboard is better than a tiny little button down the back alleys, right? Even if they are seen, I think it was crazy to our publishers to not value the value of the environment, and I think that was driven by ideology and again actually by greed, because what people saw was a chance to put a huge margin on bad inventory.
So how do we fix it? Because we've always been at risk of cannibalizing ourselves, really. But how do we fix it? How do we fix specifically programmatic? Because we can never turn back the clock. Again, going back in time, it's like £50 CPMs, and now you know what they are. And we've massively cannibalized them, we've devalued it, and all of those things. We can't do shit about that. But what can we do to kind of fix a shrinking system?
I think economics here tells a story. So there's a thing called the tragedy of the commons. So the idea being that you all might share a lake, and many businesses might like fish in the lake or use the lake for leisure or sell boating trips. It's everyone's interest for this lake to be pristine, and yet economics and history shows this. Oftentimes you get waste dumped in there, and the lake is destroyed or it's overfished. In the world of marketing, that lake is the ad ecosystem, and what people are doing is they're pumping it full of bad inventory, potentially illegal or fraudulent inventory, MFA. And economic history tells us why, because the odds of them getting caught are very low, and the benefits of them doing so are good. And it's to the point where the way we created this industry was, I could spin up a site tomorrow, sell fraudulent inventory, make some money. If I get caught, I'm not going to jail. I just stop what I'm doing and respin up a new website or a new domain seconds later. But the bad guys are not being punished for the most part. And the people who are trying to buy good inventory have no good way, in my view, of stopping it. People talk about, I wanted to protect data and protect privacy, but the end result is it's very actually hard to follow the supply chain end to end.
Well, we're trying with like the UK SOC's Know Your Customer going, and I agree with you on the analogy of that of the pool. And in fact, I've always said you're fishing in a polluted pool. You've got to clean up your ponds, and then you've got to, and that pond might be smaller, but it'd be good damn clean. And unless you know who your customer is, and there's a really simple way, and yet DSPs are still fighting it.
But the practical reality is that an advertiser today buying through a DSP does not know who they're paying.
And they're not jumping on board to sign up to it either, Rob. So it's doing, I just don't, you're handing it to them on a plate, a solution. Why are they not wanting to fix it? Why are they not wanting to do their part? Finances? Money?
A lot of people say, oh, advertisers take responsibility and advertisers go and fix it. It's not going to happen. They have a ready-made alternative that's better and good enough. And that alternative is, unfortunately, Google, Meta, TikTok, Snapchat. Now, or any of the big seven global platforms, Spotify, Microsoft. Now, these platforms have their own issues. I'm not saying at all that they're perfect, but what they do is they do take a bit more responsibility for what's going on. If something goes wrong and you're running on Google will they'll probably fudge it, but they will at least deal with the question, and that provides air cover to begin with, so that the brand isn't going to get blamed as much. The brand runs on programmatic inventory. If anything goes wrong, everyone else points the other direction, and the brand's left holding the baby. So asking the brands to go and put good money into fixing that, because if they want to go and really have a big no customer policy, they need to go and hire people who are trained to do that. It's not difficult, but it's quite expensive. And they could just go, well, let somebody else fix it and just move our budget elsewhere. Now, unfortunately, you ask any head of programmatic or head of performance or CMO behind closed doors whether they'd rather spend money on fixing it or wait for us to fix it. It's going to be the latter. From their point of view, if the open web, quote unquote, whatever that definition exactly is, dies, it's not great, but it's not their fault, and they're not the ones that lose.
Yeah.
So the people that have to fix this has to be the people who need to fix it. It's the publishers, the big publishers, the supply side, the quality publishers. And they've had the last 50 years fighting each other over audiences and trading deals and what have you, and can't really agree who's a friend and who's an enemy. But that group has to come together and go, we need a better way. And for me, that better way has to have a few principles to it. First of all, you have to make it so that whenever you buy inventory, you know who's getting paid.
Yeah, 100%.
So that when anything goes wrong, you can exclude that payment link forever, and or if you need to go legal on the situation. What that does, that immediately cleans up the pond. The people dumping it in are visible and pushed aside. That creates a better product, which more advertisers are going to want to play in. That leads into responsibility. We have to take responsibility for the actions that we're taking and to create a better product. The third area is probably the hardest area, which is measurement. The direct response budget for unmeasurable media is zero, i.e., no advertiser is going to spend money buying media if they've got no idea how it works. Google, Meta, Amazon, again, their measurement systems have flaws, but provide a really shiny, believed report as to you spent 100 grand, you got $1 million back. The open web needs that if it's going to survive. It needs an open source conversion API. Unfortunately, with regulation like the GDPR, well intentioned, but it killed what measurement existed.
Absolutely.
But it killed it for the open web, not so much for Google, Meta, and others. And if I could call on the regulator to do anything, it would be to help the open web get a level playing field on measurement, which again is the one thing that everyone's missing in all of the debates is, yeah, people say, oh, contextual targeting is a solution for cookieless. No, it isn't, because it doesn't do measurement.
I know. But the interesting thing is, and we could talk all day on this, and we've got to move to the quickfire round, but two things. One, if we're not careful, and I'm going to be going loud on this, regulation is coming and not in the way we want it. And number two, I want everybody to be more Rob, and also to look at your LinkedIn and some of the pieces you write, because it's actually the most important thing is other people giving a shit. So follow Rob on LinkedIn to see what he's got to say about it. And as I said, we could talk for hours on that, but I got to get you to your quick fire round. So in this, Rob, you go on to the first thing that comes to your mind. Are you ready?
Oh dear, it's going to be dangerous.
I know, that's why I've done it and extended yours just to see what comes out. Okay, what's going to crash and burn next? AI or something else?
Something else. Open web if we're not careful.
Okay, open web will crash if we don't do something about it. You're always the first to recognize the next tech. What is the next tech?
Definitely AI, but I think particularly it's going to be AI that helps join people together. It's that collaborative system.
Collaborative AI, I love that. What's something you've said that you wish you hadn't, except for the conversation we had earlier?
Oh my word. I've definitely jumped in too fast too soon on occasion. I was being bought dinner by the Rubicon project back when SSPs were just launching. I remember saying, why do we want an ad network of publishers? As in, why do we want a network of networks? I hadn't really understood it, so I probably shouldn't have said that.
I love that. You know I love an ad network. Lived and breathed it in 2008. It's gorgeous times. Right, you're known for being a purveyor of pubs and restaurants. Where's the best steak and where's the best pub?
Okay.
And I said to producer Ren, I think I can guess the steak one.
Can you? Well, I think actually there's two that I think are amazing. They sell the same beef. It's Kitty Fisher's and Lura.
I don't know why I thought you were going to go Hawksmoor.
I do like the Hawksmoor. The other one, the problem is, I used to go there like 3 or 4 times a week. Everyone, when I worked at Medicom, everyone knew I liked steak.
Yeah.
And the Bull Steak Expert was just down the road, and I used to get taken there very, very happily 3 or 4 times a week. Also got taken to the Bountiful Cow, just 10 feet away as well. So the Bull Steak Expert is a great steak. I think I'd have. I once went there, got taken there by clients twice in one day, 4 times in a week.
And the best pub, where would we find Rob?
Oh, I'm going to say the Anglers in Teddington, but in town, I'm actually going to say the Marquis of Gransby is the best media pub.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah. Always a winner on the media one. Right. Who in ad tech is saying things right and first before you that you've gone, wish I'd said that?
Great question. On the Google trial, Ari Paparo. On what we just talked about, Gareth Glazer.
Okay, good. Both good choices. Would you describe yourself as a maverick, disruptor, a trailblazer, or something else?
I'd say probably I'll go Maverick. I'll have my Top Gun fantasy hat on. Let's go Maverick.
You have that. You live and breathe it. Last two. What's one bit of tech you wish you'd come up with or you'd backed?
Back in the day, it's the spotlight tag. Yeah, the whole ability to track post-click, post-impression, and bring all that data through was an absolute game changer back at the turn of the millennium. And honestly, it's powered almost everything we've done since.
It would be funny if you just said something like subsites or something like that. No one's ever answered that question and gone subsites. Love that. Pop on over. Final one. Who would you like to see and hear on Legends of Adtech?
Alice Anson, from a retail media point of view, would be amazing.
Oh, God, yeah, right. Producer Ren, we're getting Alice on, that's good. So every time we ask that question, we then bring them on for the next season. Rob, you've been amazing as always. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Julie. It's been amazing.
And just a few things, and there was so much good shit you said, but just a couple of things from Rob. It's about getting in there early. If you see a trend, jump on board at the start. Try and look for things that you can mend and build as well, and show you and leave your value on what you've delivered on that. If you're a leader, be hands-on. Was another good one I love. Be a generalist is probably a good way to save your career with AI coming, and work with AI to maximize what you can deliver on it. But there was so much stuff I could have easily said. So thank you so much, Rob. And if you'd like to connect with Rob or learn more about his work or his company's work, check out the links in the description. And if you're wondering what just happened or what is happening in the industry, head over to our brand new website, adtechjuice.com. It will help you decode our industry. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please be sure to rate, review, and share. And of course, be sure to never miss an episode of Legends of Adtech. Until next time, it's Julia Linehan. Keep it juicy.
You've been listening to Legends of Adtech, a podcast by Adtech Juice. New episodes drop every 2 weeks, bringing you closer to the pioneers, disruptors, and game changers shaping the future of digital advertising. Stay connected at adtechjuice.com and be sure to follow us on LinkedIn for even more industry know-how.